Hello there. A lot of the time when I'm bank fishing, I'm on my own, and if I do catch a nice fish, that means I have to try and retain it for a couple of minutes just while I set the camera up. Now you can do that on some lakes and rivers, just by keeping the fish in the landing net, but often that's not feasible, and you have to look at other options. And at PikePro, I've been instrumental in designing a pike tube that I think is the best ever available, really. That is ideal just for retaining fish for a minute or two. And that's all we want to stress that we want to use them for, really. If the weather's hot or there's an algal bloom or anything, you should always return the fish as soon as possible and not retain it at all. But once we get into winter and the water temperature falls below about 10 degrees, then I don't think it does any harm to retain a fish for a couple of minutes. It will give the fish time to get his breath back a little bit, and give you time to get the camera set up properly and not be panicking about getting the fish back. So that's when we use the tubes, just for that purpose, just for very short-term retention, and never for retaining fish for any longer than that. Now, I've used tubes not just for pike and zander, but they're also useful for other fish too. Because they're so lightweight and pack up so small, they're ideal for barbel and chub as well. Again, just to retain them while I set the camera up. And I've even used them for big roach and rudd. Again, they're ideal just because they take up very little room, and ideal just while I get that camera set up. So here's the tube that we've come up with at PikePro, and it's got a few features that I'll just run through. First off, it's big enough to take a really big pike. You're never going to struggle with size on that. And the second key feature is that we've made the rings out of a really tough metal, and as you can probably see, they're D-shaped rather than round, and that, especially if you're fishing on a river, that stops it twisting up and gathering, and will just sit nicely on the bottom. We've put a full-length zip in, which if I turn it around, you can see it's just offset to one side. It's an extra tough zip, really strong, and with it being offset, it means it's not pressing down on the fish, it's just sitting over to the side out of the way. Really tough. What I tend to do is put the fish in with the towel at the zip closed end and a head away from the closed zip. Obviously that way, if a fish just try and power off as you're trying to get the fish out of the water or whatever, it's not going to force its way through the zip because it's going in the other direction. Now, if you don't want to use the zip, we have put the traditional toggles on, and you've got extra strong straps on there just so you can peg it out as well. Personally, what I tend not to use these, I use the zip, so what I do is I just tie an overhand knot in there, so there's no chance whatsoever of the fish forcing its way out through the ends. And the material is a really nice, soft, dark, fish-friendly material. Very similar to a lot of retainers and carp sacks these days, very similar material. Dries very quickly, which is important to avoid spreading disease from venue to venue, and you should always dry out all your nets and any retainers between trips. So there we go, that's the PikePro Pike Tube. It's not the easiest thing to say, but a really useful bit of kit in the right situations. As I say, only retain fish for the shortest amount of time possible, but on those days when you're fishing on your own and you need to just get a camera and have the scale set up, a useful addition to your kit. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.